Hello guys, and welcome to a new WARNO video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you a 3 versus 3 on the Albion military base map, playing with the 24th Infantry Division. This is the first time that I've covered this map on the channel, and it is a fantastic map. So I've gone back to a replay that was played before Northag, so if you see any differences, that would be why. But yeah, this map was added for free a little while back, and it has some really awesome features. You have this massive military base in the middle, that is the contested area, and then all around the outside, you have a contested missile silo on the top side, and then some missile silos further back that act as further objectives if you manage to break through the center. A very cool map, and a kind of difficult map to play. Today we're going to be focusing on the missile silo on the top side. That's where I've been designated for this game. So I'm going to be leading the charge with a couple of M3A1 Bradleys, and then we have the Hueys over there with my air cav troopers that are going to be landing and dropping them off into the tree line. We're following up with some Stinger squads. We have the sniper squad there. We have the military police leader, as well as the M1IP Abrams and two M2A1 Bradleys with fire teams of dragons. So my idea on the right side of the sector is to use the air cav troopers alongside the dragons to get a good position early on. Nasty MiG-21 coming in there early on. So I'm going to be trying to intercept that with my Eagle. I end up managing to come along and kill the MiG-23. And the MiG-21 actually going to be able to get away from the F-15. But a good start, killing one of the enemy aircraft. And my Bradleys have reached position, trying to take out a transport there. The UAZ doing a runner away from that tow too. And my Stingers have unloaded. The aircraft troopers managed to get there before they got shot down in the Huey, so that's good. For the aircraft troopers, they've got the 7 M16s and the 2 M60s. This M60s can do a decent amount of damage at long range, especially against a unit like the Siderungs. And you can see that today we're going to be up against Sanujan, who's going to be playing with the 7th Panzer Division. So M1IP moving forwards to assist in that endeavour, but unfortunately pushed back by the introduction of the ATGM that was flying our way. Wild Weasel flies overhead because I noticed the Cub there that had its radar on, but unfortunately my Wild Weasel failing to land both of its missiles on target, which was really not good. M2A1 at least manages to get away from the ATGM that was engaging it, and my Bradley is going to be doing the same to the T-72M, trying to take that out. On the left hand side here, fire team Bradley, hoping to take out the Avkada. If I can blind the troops here, that would be great, but Sanujan going to be smarter than that and stop me from doing so. I trade the T-72M for the Bradley. I'm perfectly okay with that. Really nice kill for me early on to try and give us a little bit of an armor lead. Now the biggest problem that you're always going to have when you play against the 7th Panzer Division is the build-up of T-72s, and we're going to see me dealing with that, or trying to deal with that, throughout this game. The amount of T-72s they can bring in, which are decent value, especially at this sort of range, is really scary, because my Abrams want to engage at range because they have the advantage in firepower and armor. But the T-72s, they want to fight at close range so that they can kind of counteract some of that advantage. So what I mean by that is, like, the M1IP at range might, you know, be able to two-shot a T-72 if it's, say, within 1,400. But if the T-72 can get within, say, 800 meters, bear in mind it's all theoretical, then the T-72 can also two-shot the M1IP, whilst the M1IP will still be two-shotting the T-72. It will just leave a T-72 on less health, but either way, both sides will be able to two-shot a tank instead of, say, they're three-shotting my Abrams at range and I'm two-shotting their T-72 at range. Okay, MiG-23 there, cheeky coming in. Didn't manage to see that coming in time, so the M1IP going to be taking a big dent in the front armor as that absolutely smashes the M1IP and takes it down to 2 health. Sniper though, trying to take out the Mod Avkada there, but Sanajan doing another good job of keeping his recon alive. Super important that he does so that he can find nice airstrikes like that M1IP being hit by the MiG, but also just so that he knows where to attack with his T-72s, which he will want to do eventually, because that is the majority of what the 7th Panzer relies upon. So multiple engineers with flash launchers now coming in, alongside a military police. So since my aircraft troopers got pushed out of the trees here, I managed to keep this one alive just. My plan was to get them back on their feet at some point, but ultimately trying to get the engineers into position so that we can clean this out in our favour, and the military police will help because they will reduce the cohesion loss that the flash launchers engineers will take at close range. You'll also notice further back I do have the F-15 floating about. Unfortunately, these are the AA2 variant that the 24th gets, so they only have the Sparrow air-to-air missile instead of the AMRAAM, which means that they are a little bit less reliable at long range, hence why the MiG-21 managed to get out earlier. Now, one thing I did notice is that he does have his APCs hanging around with his infantry, which is not good for me because the engineers have no way to deal with that APC. So what I've got to do is wait for a unit that actually has some AT that I can use at close range in order to kill that. Now, since I saw these coming in, the F-15, I send it to engage the MiG-23. Unfortunately, MiG-23 does manage to get a hit onto my F-15, whilst my F-15 misses both of its missiles, which means I'm one down on the F-15s. I'm hoping at least I can take out the MiG-23 MF. But he managed to hit one missile, and the Chaparral finishes it off. So I'm relatively happy with that, but my Wild Weasel struggling once again, and the MiG-23 ML is going to end up shooting that down. Is going to also commit to the F-15. I'm just hoping that gets out in time, and it just about does. Really, really not good air engagements for me so far. The F-15's been rather unreliable. They should, ideally, be able to take down the MiG-23 quite nicely, but it's down to my Stingers to get that job done. And you'll notice that I did bring in the Strike Eagle to help engage that, because it does have 40% ECM. So if it can get in range with its AIM-9, it's still going to be pretty decent at taking that out. But now I have that on standby to drop a laser-guided bomb on any targets that I deem necessary. Bradley's done a good job of taking out the BMP-1 there. Panzerjägers, though, are pushing up, so I've got to be a little bit careful that that doesn't kill my recon Bradley. Meanwhile, the engineers with flash launchers can help finish those off, and then I can use the Bradley to kill the SPW, because the SPW is just freely firing on my military police and the engineers. I did manage to get a couple of M35 supplies into position, so the aircraft troopers are being reinforced, and my engineers with flash launchers are getting their flash launchers reloaded. And that's like a nice double whammy that's going to allow me to have the military presence to push through the heavy forest on this right hand side. SPW taken out on the left hand side. You can see my Fireteam Dragon here at the moment just trying to patrol and make sure that nothing's trying to sneak through there. Meanwhile, my Strike Eagle is going to head over to the right hand side, drop a laser guided bomb onto Taki's T-80BB, and we do manage to get the kill there. Unfortunately, I take a hit, so I'm going to leave, because I don't want that Cub to get a second shot off and shoot me down. That would be less than ideal. So helping out a little bit there, Grim Guy, meanwhile on the right hand side, Young Mogul has managed to push all the way through the military base on the right hand side so far. So Warm Conehead under a bit of pressure. But you can see how the map's kind of ended up along the 50-50. It's not on the airfield. It's very easy to look at this map and go, oh, the airfield's like the 50-50. The 50-50 is, in fact, in the middle of both of these sectors. The difficulty is, if one of the players gets into the center before you do, then you're going to have a hard time trying to push across the open to take back all of these buildings until the late game, where most of the buildings are destroyed, and then it becomes a little bit easier to use your tanks in those locations. Now, smoke play is being used to cover the advance of T-72s on the left side by Sanajan, but I am making good ground on the right side at least. Unfortunately, the engineers with flash launchers getting taken out by an APC, but I do have the aircraft trooper coming up with the M72 Law to take that out. M1IP is going to be forced to fall back due to the BRDM. My sniper not having line of sight on that is causing me problems, and I can't have the M3A1 Bradley further forwards because the Conkers here is a 70-point unit, and I don't want it to kill my 120-point M3A1, which it definitely can do with one missile. So now the infantry engagement going up against the Citadel should fall in my favour, but a great job by my opponents so far to utilise artillery. And so going to be able to pin and sort of do damage to my infantry squads whilst this engagement's going. I'm kind of forcing some of my units forwards to avoid that. You can see that it is falling behind me. So I'm not too concerned. I just got to keep kind of running forwards, just not get in line of sight of enemy tanks on the left-hand side in the meantime. So Avkala now moving up here on the left-hand side, and is going to spot my fire team Dragon, allowing the BMP 1P to engage. M1IP though is moving up into position here. I do have a National Guard Apache ready to go, so that's going to be slinging some Hellfires into the fray. I love the way these Hellfires fire. When the game first came out, they never used to accelerate in the last phase, but now they do, and it looks really, really cool. So these T-72s are going to have to back off, otherwise that Apache is going to have an absolute field day here. Jilka does get on top of my aircraft troopers, so those are going to have to fall back. Thankfully, the aircraft trooper did manage to get an AT weapon towards the Shilka, which has lowered its cohesion, making them less effective at ripping apart those infantry squads. I'm still having to worry about AA. Enemy Igla, most likely in the tree line there. That does hit the Apache. And previously my unit that was on the left hand side here was trying to hunt down any like a unit that I thought snuck around the back, so I'm just going to be using the Kiowa with its exceptional optics to just hunt my back line, just to make sure that there's nothing here, no recon back here that might be able to spot my units. So the M35 supplies did their job. They used up all their supply trying to fix up these infantry. Unfortunately, the infantry still a little bit weakened as rockets start to fall. And these rockets are going to be a pain for me to deal with throughout the game. But we have been holding this sector, which is nice. So we are getting the +1 for the team, which is good. Unfortunately for me, the Kiowa does get killed off by the Igla. We do manage to get the return kill there, but losing the exceptional optics on that helicopter is pretty rough for me. I still have the sniper in position here. It's going to be able to spot things in the open, but you can see that the M1IP on the left does get ambushed by the T-72, so that's going to be taking a lot of damage close range. This is what I was talking about earlier. Sanajan knows that he needs to get close in order to get value out of these T-72s, so he's putting a lot of pressure onto my M1IP there, and I was really worried that he was actually going to charge me, but I couldn't really reverse in case this T-72 popped out and shot my M1IP, so I needed to force him to back into cover before I pulled this one back. Otherwise I'm going to end up getting sort of pincered there. Thankfully, this Abram does deter the T-72 from finding the next shot onto the M1IP, and I'm going to be able to use the M54-8A2 in order to resupply that. I also did bring in a field supply point in this game, so trying to do my best to utilize that. MiG-23, unfortunately for me, getting itself into a bit of a sticky situation, but not getting shot down. My AA just not adequate. The Stingers and the Chaparrals missed. The Eagle didn't manage to get it shot on target either. And now we're going for the MiG-21 that almost shot down my Strike Eagle. And we just about managed to kill it. As you can see, my RNG in the air, this game, really not ideal. But nothing really I can do about it. Just gotta play and not rely on it. So sniper here, taking the shots at the Panzerjäger, trying to take them out. I did bring in a second sniper because I wanted to make sure that I could kind of cover the left side more. Totu going to be finding the shot towards the T-72 M1, and we do get a nice hit on target, and because of the route it can't smoke, but fortunately it was far enough back in the free line to not get killed. So a tough fight so far. Sonojan minimizing his losses and making it very difficult for me. I was hoping this Conkers didn't hit the mark. Fortunately it didn't. Because it had to turn before it moved, it took ages to get there when I was just going to run into cover. But the M54 already used up all its supply, fixing up these tanks multiple times. At least I did manage to take out the SBW-40 Conkers there. We did unfortunately get hit by the infantry at close range. But taking out that Conkers that's been harassing me is really, really good stuff. Now, I thought this would be like the low health Panzerjäger, turns out it was the Modschützen. So the sniper there can't really stay and fight, it's going to have to back up. On the right hand side, rockets going to be flying in over the military base. Look at that. Very, very cool. An AT gun down here. For Conehead getting smashed to pieces by the MLRS. But we are sitting on the +2. He did manage to full cap this sector. I've managed to full cap the left. So yeah, we're getting ahead on conquest points now. Unfortunately, SBW-40 getting some decent damage onto my infantry here. The engineers going down would be a positive for the SBW-40. You know, only needs like one more kill really, or 5 points worth of kills in order to pay itself off in that situation. That's why I think like BRDMs are kind of underrated generally. Like BRDM2s, if they kill one infantry squads, they pay themselves off, whilst also providing like really good recon. Unfortunately, rocket artillery coming in there chips a lot of damage onto my vehicles, and it also managed to kill off the Stinger. That wasn't great. But at least we're able to repel the Sicherungs that try and push into the heavy cover on the right hand side. I've got a bunch more aircraft troopers that have come up on the left. We'll be unloading those shortly. And I've got the M1 Abrams joining me on the right hand side to kind of shore up this position. I don't really want to put too many in the same area because he's utilizing rocket artillery. And what might happen if I'm not careful is all of my Abrams would get pinned or like lower cohesion due to the rocket artillery strike, and then he could push me in really, really easily with the 7th Panzer and the T-72s. So that's kind of what I'm scared of. But I use the Abrams here to clean up that recon, and the aircraft troopers are still doing a good job against the remainder of the Sicherungs on the right hand side until, of course, enemy artillery starts to come in. They're still being put under a lot of pressure. I do have to get more supply into position. You can see that the M54 here driving back to get more supply from that field supply point, and these M35s already have done so, but going to be lacking most likely supply to completely fix those tanks. Engineers getting into line of sight of the Modschützen's nice, as they are able to get those shots on target. We're going to be able to kill them off pretty quickly, whilst the aircraft troopers finish off the Sicherungs. So right side, not looking so hot until the napalm lands at least, but Young Mogul putting on a lot of pressure here. Conehead trying to hold the line with the TOW 2, but unfortunately that just ran out of ammo. So that's not going to be helping anymore, and the Sheridans at longer range are going to struggle against the T-55s. Just the 82nd there getting somewhat outmatched by even the sort of medium armor of the 4th mod Schützen. But it's just not quite the terrain that he needs in order to take full advantage. When my aircraft troopers are in position, we're going to be trying to sweep through here, take out any T-72s that are left in this position, whilst also killing off the Panzerjägers if they're there, and also the mod Schützen. Those are the targets that I'm looking for. I've also got the Strike Eagle hanging about, just in case there is a tank that I need to kill quickly. The fight over the military base continues though, and you can see how Young Mogul has to get into position here. He has to kind of like push across the open. Now it does leave him vulnerable to the Apaches at least. You see Conehead trying to use the Hellfires to get the kills on target, but the Strela 10M not quite going down, and he seems to be struggling against the Metis. Grim guy in the center under a lot of pressure from Taki, holding the line at the moment with just the Rangers with the Dragon there, as the Cobra does get popped by the Strela 10M. At the moment I'm not really putting on much of a push because I'm waiting for my tanks to get fixed up, but I'm going to come in at least and kill off that infantry squad, which could prove annoying for Grim Guy to deal with. Just trying to provide as much support as I can with my air assets. So the M35s here did actually end up having enough to fully repair all the M1 Abrams, which was nice. The M3A1 of course still need fixing up. MP leader unfortunately taking some artillery fire as he has deduced where they are most likely going to be. This M35 ran out of ammo though, trying to get my engineers back online. I've got more Stingers in position. They're there to help with the air engagement. Just make sure we shoot down those MiGs if we end up engaging them again. On the left hand side, the aircraft troopers currently just chilling. They do have security trait, which is nice. This increases their optics to good when they are stationary. So if I have them on the edge of the tree line and they're stood still, we might be able to see enemies in the opposing tree line. Also got the Apache back here if I need it. EVADs moving up to help support. Helicopters are potentially a problem throughout this game, so that's something I've also got to look into. But another F-111 strike coming in on the right hand side. Napalm cluster looking to kill off the Strela 10Ms. All of the F-111s actually managed to get out there, and this Strela 10M actually burning up in that napalm, so pretty nice airstrike. EVADs forced back there, but here we go with a little bit of an Abrams push. Now you might be wondering, like, why are you pushing into this sector when you already have it under full control? Well, the trouble is, if I don't control the far side of these tree lines, the enemy can eventually just continually contest the sector, and I want to make sure that this maintains in our control for the rest of the game. So what I have to do is kind of get into the position on the far side. Unfortunately for me, Thunderjan going to be stopping that happening. MiG-23 MF coming in with the AT there is potentially a problem, but I'm hoping the Stingers can shoot that down. The Chaparrals managed to get the job done. The Mi-24P is a problem. Now pushing across the open into the Mi-24P is not a good idea because of the COCON, so I'm forced to pull up the Chaparrals to get the job done. But what that meant is that I actually had to reverse into the MLRS, so now we're lacking cohesion as well, and we took extra damage from that, which is obviously not great. The F-16 coming in with nice cluster onto the T-80 there. That will certainly slow down the push a bit. I have my own Strike Eagle coming in to help out shortly as well, but unfortunately this Stinger going to get found by the Mod Avkada and most likely take it out. But what I'm going to need moving forwards is some artillery. So I did bring that in just now. The National Guard M109s. Those are going to help me with enemy HGM positions, which will harass the M1IPs when I try and break through to the far side of these tree lines. So more Davkada bumping into my National Guard scouts, but I do have the engineers at close range that can help out. So we're able to force them back, and meanwhile the M1 Abrams will move to that right hand side as well, as it may allow me to kind of flank and put damage into Taki whilst he tries and pushes on Grimguy's objective. So the Abrams making a push forwards once again. Managed to take out the Shulker there, which was nice. We're taking out one of the BMPs. Unfortunately, we're now going to be dealing with the T-72s at close range. T-72 at least not hitting too much just yet. M1 17 front armor. Still a bit of a meal for my M1 Abrams at close range, especially when they consistently miss. Do manage to get the job done eventually. Now we'll try and push on to the next one. This one took a side shot. That's going to be forced to fall back. Air Cav troopers trying to push forwards, with the T-72 making it difficult, as that is targeting the Air Cav trooper instead of my M1s. So I'm going to bring in the Strike Eagle to help finish things off nice and quickly. Abrams have come through to help deal with the remainder of the T-72 M1s. And we are getting some decent damage in, but these are, I think, one of the best tanks that the 7th Panzer has to offer. So they're proving difficult to take out, but I'm ready to trade M1 Abrams into T-72 M1s. So far, so good. I mean, we've managed to take out 2 T-72s. I did unfortunately lose one of my Abrams next to the missile silo, but if I can take the ground here, that would be fantastic. And then if I can keep the Air Cav troopers alive, I can of course fix them up after the fact with my supply. Unfortunately, here comes rocket artillery from the other side of the map, and it appears young Mogul wanted to have a go at some of my troops. So the Air Cav troopers further up, absolutely obliterated. 3 of those squads going down. All of these M1 Abrams, you can see, getting caught out on low health, and a lot of my infantry on the right side here hit by tube artillery. So we're in a bit of a predicament, and Sanajan going to try and take the opportunity to push forwards with the T-72Ms, so we're going to have to deal with that. Now if I were in the position here and I had decent AT infantry in position, then this wouldn't be so bad, but I'm forced to kind of deal with it at a distance. Thankfully I do have these Abrams kind of ready and waiting in this heavy cover, so we're still able to get the sort of pincer shots and potential side shots onto these vehicles. That is, however, if they can hit the mark. And unfortunately the Abrams at close range there misses due to its slow cohesion, and then actually gets killed off as well, so really not good. This Abrams also going to get hit before landing a shot itself, so that doesn't help. This M1IP, however, does meant to get a hull breach, so that's nice. But the M1 Abrams there getting routed and forced to fall back. Do manage to get the M35 supplies to the M1 Abrams in the cover there, which is great. And we also managed to take out the BMP 1P before it unloaded. If that had unloaded, then the infantry would prove difficult for me to dislodge from that left side forest. Now, second time round we're not so lucky, so the M1 Abrams there misses, the BMP gets through, infantry is most likely unloaded on the far side of that forest, so I've got to be careful about that. C-72 is starting to get the better of my tanks at close range thanks to this smoke. And it was just a really nice play actually from Sanajan to use the smoke to get that range close to my tanks and therefore be able to kind of level the playing field, what should be my advantage. M3A1 looking for the tow on target there. Really hoping it can get the job done. Unfortunately, missing both the toes means both the T-72 and most likely the Strela are going to be saved by the infantry and the SBW-70s. They seem to be rolling so much bad RNG this game, but you got to bear in mind cohesion, and that is playing a big part in this game. But the M3A1, the M1 Abrams, they're going to have to back off as the Modschützen push through that were unloaded by the BMP-1. But at least we're able to clean up a couple of T-72Ms there, get some back thanks to the numerous TOW-2s that I've now brought in to play on the defensive. The wondrous thing about Bradleys is they are so good on defense due to their TOWs. The M2 Bradley IFVs actually they only get I-TOWs, but they're still going to be doing plenty of damage to the armor of the T-72s, particularly if they get side shots. And you can see that I have spread them out quite nicely to make sure that that can potentially happen. Now, I did lose my chaparral as I moved that forwards to prevent the enemy helicopters from coming into play, but then kind of forgot to move it back, so it ended up getting killed. But we're still able to engage the rest of these T-72s from range thanks to the Bradleys, so that's great. Utilizing my ATGM advantage. I'm currently still like 667 to 389. +2 now though for the enemy as they managed to get the T-55 back into position. On the left hand side, my Bradley does get taken out. You can see my artillery now coming into play. So could bring that in a lot earlier, but it didn't really have any good targets because Sanajan was just doing a good job of keeping things moving or keeping things concealed. Now hoping to get some artillery damage on target, or at least put artillery on places where they would otherwise be annoying. So now, like, if the T-72 wanted to push up here whilst the Abrams are engaging like in the straight direction, then they would have to come into the artillery in order to do that. Yeah, Bradley's really kind of saving the day here, taking out another T-72M there, and that's a bunch of huge kills. But Sanujan adding some precious score for his team as the scores do get closer together. So aircraft troopers, fire team dragons, managing to get the better of the Sigilungs. We're also going to be able to take out the Modschützen there near the missile silo. The M54 8A2 is doing a great job of fixing up these tanks. So things going pretty nicely, but I'm going to have to support Taki here. And we're dropping my laser guided bombs onto the BMP-3s. Because if Taki manages to take hotel or contest that, then I'm in trouble. Now, Strike Eagles here, unfortunately not reloaded on their GBU before they land the next laser guard bomb. This was a change that I never really liked. It doesn't really make much sense. But we're at least able to launch those. Unfortunately, they kind of go off target. Probably because of the cohesion loss. But yeah, basically what they did with laser guided bombs to kind of nerf the Strike Eagles is they gave them like a long reload time, which means you can't just like go around in a circle and launch the second laser guided bomb straight after. In my opinion, you should still be able to. Personally, in my opinion, the way that they should balance WARNO is make it so that units are really, really fun to use and really quite powerful. Like, say, allow Apaches to fire like 2 Hellfires at once, but then just make those units really expensive. Like, if they're really effective, just make them really expensive. I think that would be a much better way to do things. It's like when they had the Mi-24 BP and its cannon on the front was like ridiculously powerful. It was really, really fun to use. But then they just kind of like nerfed it to oblivion and now it does no damage, rather than it doing a lot of damage and being really fun to use, but just really expensive to use, right? And then a lot more of a risk of a unit to put on the front line. I think that'd be like a much more fun way to balance things. Regardless, You can see that this engagement is still on a knife edge as Sanajan consistently puts down more of this smoke. My Abrams running out of plates on the side there to defend their tracks as they've come under so many shots. One thing I really like about the Abrams actually are how they have that sort of like dynamic damage on the side of them, and they end up losing like random plates off the side of the tank that never get replaced. These Abrams though in a bad spot right now as we continue to try and apply pressure. I do end up losing my M1 IP there, but overall we're doing a pretty good job of cleaning up these units. Having the M1 IPs over on the left hand side is causing beautiful side shots onto all of these T-72s as the smoke dissipates. And we're able to clean that up nicely. Unfortunately for me, Sanajan has bought his team enough time. That +2 still ticking, whilst the enemy command sits in the right corner now. So this time around what he did, which was pretty smart, he brought in 2 commanders. So he brought one that pushed in on this side, which ended up being a really bad position for him, losing a lot of T-72s. But he also brought in another one on this side, and it means that now I'm going to have to push through with the tanks into the infantry, which is obviously not ideal, in order to kill that off. And so, yeah, this is not good because a lot of my infantry is dead and I don't really have like the reinforcements. I need to get these units up to the front ASAP, but I've had them a little bit further back and I've been concentrating on the micro here. So yeah, the intensity of this fight forcing me to make mistakes, and all the while the +2 is going to keep counting. Now the trouble from my perspective is that even if I manage to keep Sanajan out of this sector, we're not going to be able to gain score from doing that anymore. So we would then be required to assist on the right hand side, which is why I've sent a fire team Dragon over here. I sent some Bradleys over there earlier. I'm going to bring them over my F-15 as well, which is going to be trying to shoot down the MiG-29s. Did manage to shoot down one, the second gets away and we get shot down, but at least the F-15s of Conehead managed to get the job done with the AMRAAMs. So that was good. Yeah, these definitely should have come forwards here, unloaded. Maybe the Huey needs to unload early because of the Strela 10M, but military police should definitely be there supporting my Abrams. At least the Apache does manage to take out the Strela 10M on its own. You do have to be careful about that whenever you're using like Strela 10Ms or Igloos or whatever. 1v1 helicopters will win. You know, you might think, oh, it's the counter, but on their own, like helicopters 1v1 will generally beat an AA unit, because the helicopter in this case has a Hellfire, or like the Mi-24 would have like a Kokon, and the AA unit will have to hit twice in order to get the kill, whilst the helicopter only has to hit once. And that's why in most cases the helicopters will win those engagements. So you do have to make sure that you have like a number of different AA units in order to properly utilize them against helicopters. Finally going to be unloading that infantry and pushing forwards. I did end up retreating with these armoured vehicles to get them fixed up, but you can see that the supply has been used. Bear in mind each of these M54s have 1,500 supply, and we're almost completely out. It's kind of silly. Apache there, quickly going up to get some rockets on target, so we're going to be able to take that out. On the left hand side, forced back by the Mi-24P again though. So Chaparral, Stinger are going to have to move forwards. This Evads here was doing a fantastic job. But these Stingers trying to shoot down the Mi-24P. I really need to get rid of the Mi-24P because they're one of the things that was really stopping me from making breakthroughs. So here I want to go and charge down the Strela 10M, but the Stingers were taking their sweet time. Thankfully we did manage to kill it, but now MiG-23 coming in with its rockets and actually killing the Abrams in one pass, and that is not something that I'm used to seeing. That's some pretty strong rockets getting the job done there. Now unfortunately there's only like 20 seconds left on the clock, so no chance for my extra Bradleys and the leader to get into Delta to help save the day. But a really, really fantastic game, and Sanajan putting up a fantastic fight and actually ending up winning the game for his team. Now, of course, you know, Young Mogul did a good job of securing both of these, and Taki's been putting a great amount of pressure onto Grimguy the entire game. But Sanajan contesting this sector and managing to get back in there with the two commands did end up winning his team the game. So nicely done by our opponents. In the end, for me, 7,350 kills, 5,790 losses. I can't help but feel that with a little bit of extra RNG in the air, particularly early on, I might have been able to properly secure the left-hand side and then been able to assist on the right for the rest of the game, rather than be stuck in the forward and back of that T-72 M1 engagement. Well, that was very fun to play out, and the Strike Eagles, they could have done better. Unfortunately, in this case, not really many kills for them. My MVPs turned out to really be the Air Cav Scouts, which seems to do fantastic jobs, and the M1 IPs, and the M1 Abrams, of course, and also the Bradleys, which came in and kind of saved the day against the T-72M push. So, yeah, really, really fun one. And a great look at the missile silos side of that map. I do have another replay that I'll cover at some point, covering the sort of military base side of that map. But that is it for now. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.